and thank you for joining today's session on Mason Core Assessment. My name is Chris Lee, and I serve as the Associate Director of Institutional Effectiveness in the Office of Institutional Effectiveness and Planning. In today's session, I will provide an overview of Mason Core Assessment, including its purpose and a detailed explanation of submission requirements. The course materials you'll submit are aligned with those from the course proposal process. And beyond submitting course materials, the assessment process involves evaluating student learning through the review of student artifacts. The goal of general education assessment is to understand and continuously enhance the core learning outcomes that form the foundation of every student's undergraduate experience. I am excited to be a part of this important work, and I look forward to supporting and collaborating with all of you throughout this process. This session is a makeup general session for anyone who was unable to attend their category-specific session. All the information covered today will be the same as the information covered in the category sessions. In addition, the session will be recorded. The recording and slides will be shared with all of the instructors, hopefully by the end of the week. I would appreciate it if you could take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself in the chat. Throughout the presentation, questions are welcome in the chat, and we will also have a dedicated time to address any and all questions at the very end of the presentation. At this time, I'd like to introduce the rest of the Mason Core team to all of you, Laura Palms and Tricia Wilson, and we'll start with Laura.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedules today to join us. We greatly appreciate it. We can't do assessment, which is really important to making sure that our students are learning what we need them to learn without you. So thank you very much. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And I'll just piggyback on what Laura said to reiterate that if you have any questions throughout your semester now or in the future about Mason Core learning outcomes and assignments and how they align to the learning outcomes, feel free to email us at masoncore without the E at gmu.edu, and we'd be happy to support.
Thank you. Yes. And Laura and Tricia are excellent resources to support you in your role as a Mason Core instructor. And again, we are so thankful that you are here today. Okay, today's agenda will provide a background of Mason Core assessment. Then we will talk about category-specific information about the learning outcomes and the rubric that is used for the assessment process. Next, we will go through in detail how to submit the student artifacts and any relevant course materials. And finally, at the end, we will share some resources that are available to support you in this process. Assessment practices hold institutions accountable for providing a high-quality education for our students, ensuring consistency across categories of learning. Student learning is the primary mission of higher education institutions, with the goal of equipping students with the skills and knowledge needed for future success. The assessment process also offers valuable opportunities to support faculty with resources. And finally, Mason Core assessment aligns with external reporting requirements, such as those from SACS COC and SHEV. Assessment is most effective when it focuses on continuous quality enhancement rather than simply assuring quality. This ongoing cycle is critical for fostering a culture of assessment within an institution. By clearly defining learning outcomes, faculty can design meaningful assignments aligned with those outcomes. Direct measures, such as student artifacts, are then collected and analyzed. Based on the analysis, adjustments to the curriculum or teaching methods are made to improve student learning. This process of continuous feedback enhances both individual courses and the broader general education curriculum, ensuring that students receive a comprehensive and rigorous education. There are 3 essential questions for Mason Core assessment. For each of our categories, the 3 questions that you see here are addressed in its entirety, and they shape both the major contents of the assessment process as well as the category reports. The questions that you see are aligned to our SHEV requirements for student learning. There are 4 phases in the Mason Core assessment cycle. The first phase is to identify the learning outcomes and the measures. The learning outcomes are developed, and when necessary, they are revised by the Mason Core Committee. The target measures of success are the metrics or the percentages for which student achievement has been met. The metrics can vary across the different categories, and they are also adjusted as needed for any future assessment cycles depending on prior findings. The second phase is collecting data. All course sections submit materials each semester during their defined assessment period. The artifacts are submitted through Qualtrics. The third phase is the rating of the student artifacts. This takes place after data collection is complete. Subject matter experts and instructors from these given categories are invited to participate in this process. This is a wonderful opportunity for professional development and going deeper in understanding the learning outcomes. Finally, the last phase is the sharing and the use of the results. Findings are disaggregated and they are shared through engagement with relevant stakeholders and on our websites. The Mason Core Committee will review and, as needed, revise any learning outcomes that need revisions, contributing to conversations about future action plans and the work to continue to increase achievement of student learning. This is the current timeline for Mason Core assessment. Going forward, each of our categories are up for assessment every 3 years. So when a category is up for assessment, instructors will submit both in the fall and the spring semesters of that year. This rotation allows for courses that are offered every other year to be able to participate in the assessment cycle across a 6-year span. This shorter, more frequent data collection cycle of every 3 years is expected to reduce instructor burden, all the while reinforcing this culture of assessment as a foundational expectation of Mason Core courses. This year, natural science, global history, and writing intensive are participating in the assessment process. This is the revised rubric that you see here as of March 2025, and it is the rubric that we will use for all of our categories going forward. The rating scale that you see with meets, partly meets, and does not meet, as well as the descriptions below, the explanation for each of those, for each of the rating options. These pieces are consistent across all of our categories. However, depending on the category, we do make slight modifications sometimes as needed if there are certain pieces that a category wants to highlight in the rubric. And so please refer to your category-specific rubric that has been shared over email and will be shared again with all of the materials from today's presentation for more details. In this next section of the presentation, I'm going to go over how to submit the materials. So it is the primary instructor of record who will receive the Qualtrics email with the unique submission link for the course section. This is an email that will be coming from Qualtrics as the sender, so be on the lookout for the email. And the submission link is specific to the course section noted in the email. Along with the unique submission link, there will be a list of randomly selected G numbers. At the top, towards the top of the email, there will be 3 student G numbers. And then below that, there will be an alternate list with 3 more students that can be used if necessary. And this would be in cases where a student ends up dropping after this period of where the numbers are sent. So if the course section, example, a recitation, does not collect student work at all, please enter the paired course section number when prompted. So in selecting this choice, this will end the survey. So this is for cases where there are the same group of students in the parent course and that section, and then the associated recitation or lab. So when they are the exact same group of students and material is not collected in that recitation, you would simply list the paired course section number, and that would be enough for the submission, and then it will end the survey. The Qualtrics emails with all of this detailed information as far as who you will submit for, the students that you will be submitting artifacts on behalf of. This will be sent after the add drop period ends, about mid to end of March. And the reason for the timing is because we have to wait till our official census files are created after the add drop period. And so once we have this list on hand, then we can generate the list of student G numbers. We have 4 different parts to the submission process. The first one is the course syllabus. The second is the course assignment. Third, the learning outcomes. And then number 4 is the student artifacts. So I will go over each of these parts in detail in the slides to come. The first item to upload when you open up your Qualtrics submission link is the course syllabus. The main thing to note for this and for all of the files going forward is to please be sure to name the file using the naming convention that you see here. The survey does pre-populate the information for your course, so you'll see the example that pertains to your particular section, and so you can use that to name your file. So what you see on the screen isn't necessarily what's going to show up in the file naming, right? So the file does need to be named to match what you see on your screen. So in this case, ENGR 107 is the course number, 001 is the section number, and then you would say underscore and then the word syllabus. And proper naming is very helpful for our office in organizing the very large volume of materials that we receive. Next is the course assignment. So instructors are able to select the assignment of their choice. And in cases where a course has multiple sections and there's a common assignment, that is also okay to use, but not required. And another important piece is while there can be more than one learning outcome for a particular assignment, only one needs to be identified for the assessment here. The assignment needs to be aligned to the learning outcome. And this is because our raters need this information to be able to assign the score. So if the learning outcome is not aligned with the assignment, or the assignment, I should say, is not aligned to the learning outcome, then it makes it difficult for the raters to be able to review the artifact. And if you would like some additional support and would like to learn more about how to select assignments or how to better align your assignments to the learning outcomes in your category, you can refer to the pre-assessment workshop links that we have here that took place this past May. And there's one session for each of our categories. They're pretty similar, but it would definitely be helpful for you to refer to the one for your specific category, as that goes into more detail about the learning outcomes for your category. And similar to the syllabus, please be sure to name the file with the correct naming convention that you see here. And again, it would be course underscore section underscore the word assignment. After you upload the assignment, then you will have the next box will be identifying which learning outcome was used for the assignment, selected for the assignment. And so there are, as you know, several different learning outcomes per any given category, anywhere between 3 to 5. And you may have had more than one learning outcome that was assessed in the assignment for your course. However, again, you will select one for the assessment. Some of our categories have the learning outcome pre-selected this year. And in the next slide, I'll share the different options for the learning outcomes across the different categories. There's also going to be a section below where it asks the instructor to explain in just a few short sentences how the assignment assesses the learning outcome. This information is helpful for our raters when the raters are reviewing the student work in case there are any questions about what the student was asked to do when looking at the artifact. And you can refer to the different learning outcome options on our website, and I'll show it on the next slide as well. So again, depending on the category, you'll see the different options for the learning outcomes. For this assessment period, natural science can select from learning outcomes 1 through 5. And again, it depends on the type of course that the course is. In some cases, it's 1 through 4, sometimes it's 1 through 5, and sometimes if it's a lab, it's 5. Global history and writing intensive have pre-selected learning outcome 2, so that will be the only choice. And again, the survey is pre-populated. So if, for example, it's a global history course, then you will only see the option for learning outcome 2, and you just need to select that when you get to that section. Okay, and so this is just to highlight the different learning outcomes at a closer look. This is natural science. We have learning outcomes 1 through 5. And if it's a lecture, select from 1 through 4. If it's a lab, select learning outcome 5. In global history, we'll select learning outcome 2. And then lastly, writing intensive courses, we'll select learning outcome 2. Okay, so after the add drop period concludes, this is typically about the 6-week mark from the start of the semester. And once we are able to get all of that, the census files ready and generate the randomly selected G number, so shortly after that period, you will receive a email invitation from Qualtrics as the sender, and this is for every course section for which the instructor is the primary instructor of record. And in this email, there will be 3 randomly selected G numbers in the body of the email with a short list of alternate G numbers. When you are ready to submit, you should refer to this list in making your submission. The course information and the student G numbers are pre-populated into the form to assist you with this process. If you end up using an alternate G number, you should select which alternate G number that you used in the body of the survey. There will be an option for that as well, if it's relevant. If not, then you don't need to select anything. And there is a section for course and student artifact 1, and all of this. So the way it looks here is you'll start with student artifact 1, and there you'll see your course information. And the student artifact number 1 will have the student's G number, and then you'll drag your artifact or the file into this gray box. And please be sure to name the file with the correct naming convention. And in this case, instead of syllabus or assignment, it would be the student's G number at the end of the file. And it is really important that this number is correct because this information is used in our analysis. Everything is disaggregated, but it's helpful for us to know for knowing who the sample is and that sort of thing. So it helps us stay organized if you're able to make sure that the G number is correctly included, as well as if an alternate is selected, that's indicated in the dropped. And it actually is not a drop down. In this case, it'll just be a check off list. Okay, I'd like to give you an overview of the timeline here. So around the first week of classes, you, as a primary instructor of record, received an email from the Mason Core office welcoming you to the semester, and then specific information about the Mason Core assessment process came out about a week after that. And so this is all in January. And then this month, we are hosting our information sessions on how to submit materials. Next month, after the add drop period ends, you will receive the Qualtrics invitation with the submission link. And then lastly, in May, that is when we have our submission deadline on May 11th, about a week after the last day of classes. In cases where instructors need a little bit of additional time to accommodate, when the assignment may be coming in, just let me know and I'm happy to work something out. We have our deadline as May 11th just to get as many of our instructors submitting their materials as possible in a reasonable amount of time. But of course, if you need a little bit of additional time, we're happy to work with you on that. So after 2 semesters of data collection, and in this case, it's the 2025-2026 academic year, in fall 2026, instructors in these categories will have the opportunity to participate in rating student artifacts. So this will typically take place in the December-January timeframe. And not over winter break. And this is a great opportunity to engage in professional development and contribute to the assessment of student learning. At the workshop, you can expect to receive an overview of Mason Core assessment in more detail, a deep dive into understanding the learning outcomes in your category, the rubrics that are used. Instructors will have time to explore samples of student work and practice rating the student artifacts. And so once a common understanding of the learning outcomes, the rubrics, and the rating process has been established, Then instructors will have the opportunity to individually score the artifacts. After individually scoring the artifacts, each rater, I should say, is paired up with another rater. And so in partners, you will decide on the final score of the student artifacts. The scores from these ratings workshops that we host will be used. These are the scores that we use to develop our findings and do our analysis to make any future, if needed, changes or improvements to our category. I'd like to open this up to Laura to see if there's anything additional that would be helpful for our participants to know.
Yeah, so we can't do this without you all as subject matter experts. It's really important that you have a say in our ratings process. We do have a small stipend that we're able to offer for this experience because it is beyond your normal requirements for being part of Mason Core. It's a day and a half, and we use the National Science Foundation rates for the stipend on it. And we provide you with lunch and actually breakfast and snacks too. So it's a pretty good day. And it's a really interesting experience. This will be the third time we'll have done this, and everybody who's participated in the past has found it very valuable, both from learning about Mason Core, learning outcomes, assessment, as well as building relationships with other people in their category across the university, which is really nice to have as well. So you'll get an invitation, and we hope that you will take us up on the offer.
Thank you, Laura. All right. And for any of you who are interested in learning more about teaching a Mason Core course, our instructor certification program is open to all George Mason University instructors who've taught one or more Mason Core courses in the last 2 years. And the certification focuses on the strategies for teaching non-majors and ensuring student success as part of Mason Core. And again, I think Laura has some helpful information about this as well.
Yes. So this program is really aimed at helping people see the differences between teaching majors and teaching general education students who may or may not be interested in your discipline, and how to keep them engaged, how to keep them interested, and also how to help you work with that too, because it can be sometimes a little bit frustrating. So ways to develop techniques that will help everybody make this a great experience for our students and to contribute to student success. So we have a five course workshop. I guess it's really only about 5 hours. And the last course there focuses particularly on the differences between majors and non-majors and what we have in our student body. And then Trisha, we're developing new stuff specifically for Mason Core instructors. And Trisha is going to be doing a reading workshop coming up in the middle of February, because we have seen declining scores on reading in the Commonwealth. And we know that students don't always prepare by reading before classes, which can be very challenging when you're expecting them to be using that to build on in the course. So, Trisha, do you want to let them know when that is and put a link in that too in the chat?
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be February 27th. I believe it's at 11 a.m. It's just 1 hour, but we're just going to cover how to implement some different strategies to engage students a little bit more in reading as an active learning tool. And it's not discipline specific, so it is specific to Mason Core. It can be useful for any course, though, and really just helping to apply different strategies to help with that. So I'll get the link here in just a second.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right. So please check out our websites. We have both the Mason Core website and Mason Core and OIEP websites, both with helpful information about the assessment process. If you have questions about the submission process or anything along the way, it is very likely that somebody else has wondered the very same thing that you're wondering about. And so we have our FAQs section. And so please be sure to check that out as well. And there's a lot of helpful information and common questions that we go over there, and just some general resources, tools that you can use to help you with your submissions, including a how to submit site that goes over everything we covered in detail here today. Okay, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for also participating in the assessment process. Please encourage your colleagues to use the resources and attend any future workshops. At any time, if you have any questions or you need some help with completing your submissions, you can always reach me by email. My email is cleen@gmu.edu.